The Green Bay Packers got their most perfect, complete, dominant win of the season by defeating the 49ers 38 to 10. Now I know what you're saying. I know what you're saying. I know you 49ers fans are already saying no Brock Purdy, no Trent Williams, no Nick Bosa. So what? As Matt LaFleur always says, you don't apologize for a win. And even if Brock Purdy was out there, with the way the Packers played today, they're still not winning the game. Even with Nick Bosa with your team during the season, your defense still was not that great. Even with Trent Williams on the offensive line, your team is still not as good as it has been in the past. The Packers won the game fair and square, complete victory. You can't take anything away from the Packers. 49ers fans are just going to have to suck it up with the fact that you're 5-6, and you're probably going your playoff hopes are slowly dwindling away. I mean, now you got to go up against and play Buffalo, coming off a bye in Buffalo. That's probably another loss for you. So you're just gonna have to sit on it and spin. That's just how it is, 49ers fans. You know it's been coming for a long time. You can only be so successful for so long and not win anything. And there's just something that happens when you lose the Super Bowl. You have a bad year. It just seems to happen for most teams that lose the Super Bowl the following year. They just take a year off, basically. Have a bunch of injuries, just aren't as good as what they were. But we're going to go over it like we always do from top to bottom. Let me know what you think down in the comments below. And as always, go Pack-O. But Jordan Love, not the most efficient today. But on the other hand, no interceptions. Over 100 yards, one touchdown, or a couple touchdowns today. And it was about as good a victory you could have for Jordan Love today. At least, mistake free wise. Definitely needs to get better. The whole bomb to Christian Watson was a perfect throw. You couldn't ask for a perfect throw if you're a wide receiver. And the fact that Christian Watson, you could see it after through his actions. Christian Watson, he had the ball, then something broke in the mind, and boom, it's gone just like that. I wish Christian Watson would catch more balls because he is so athletically gifted. There's no reason why he drops balls, but he looks like Marquez Valdez-Scantling 2.0 out there. I mean, he's dropping balls left and right. He still does have a couple of good games every year, but then most games he's either disappearing or he's just flat out bad. And this was another one of those instances where he just was not good. Not good at all. Dropped the easy bomb for a touchdown. Now, even if they do score the touchdown, the Packers probably go into the halftime 24-7, and maybe just maybe Matt LaFleur goes into survival mode or autopilot and just thinks, oh, you can just coast to a victory, because he has been known to do that before. He has been known to just pack it in, leave some of the creative play going off the field, and just coast to a win. Thankfully, Packers took it to the 49ers in the second half. Well, the third quarter was kind of a dominant quarter for the 49ers. They came out and scored right away, but in the end, Packers still won because the flags caught up to the 49ers. The turnovers caught up. They had 3 turnovers in the second half. It doesn't matter who you play against. You can't turn the ball over turn the ball over 3 times. You just can't do it. And yes, even if Brock Purdy's out there, he's still throwing picks. He still throws picks all the time. Don't get it twisted, 49ers fans. You thinking Brock Purdy is better than Jordan Love? He's not. They're pretty darn close to being as good as each other. They're pretty darn one-to-one comparison, Brock Purdy and Jordan Love. It's just how it is. Just going to have to sit and deal with it. But Packers had a good win today. Let's talk about Josh Jacobs. If you were to name an MVP for the game this week, it would be Josh Jacobs. 26 carries, over 100 yards, 3 touchdowns, like 4.1 yards per carry. That's a damn good game for Josh Jacobs, and he certainly earned this game. And he even went out for a short time with an injury. Thankfully, he was able to come back, because I gotta admit, during that time when he went out, it's like, oh boy, the 49ers are gonna make a change, or they're gonna charge for and get it, but they didn't. let's talk about the 49ers for a little bit. I think the one thing you have to admit if you're a 49ers fan is that Christian McCaffrey, while he did make a couple of good plays today, is just not himself. He just doesn't look healthy. He doesn't look fully right. He had that fumble, which he never does. I mean, Christian McCaffrey is one of the most stable ball carriers in the league. He just doesn't drop the ball. He doesn't fumble. But today, he just didn't look sharp. He just isn't cutting as well as he normally would be. He's just not the same guy out there. And especially with the way your season is going, do they consider sitting Christian McCaffrey so he can be fully healthy, get over this Achilles tendonitis? I mean, that's a question you have to ask yourselves, 49ers, and it really is. Now, you still do have a small chance of getting the playoffs, but after day 5 and 6, especially with how good the NFC has been this year, it's going to be a tall order. You're going to have to beat Buffalo next week, and if you don't, you'll be 5 and 7. And with still a couple divisional games left, and you already lost to the Rams, you already lost to the Cardinals. Man, I mean, the 49ers are in dire straits right now. They need a win next week, and I don't know if they're going to be able to get it. We'll see if Brock Purdy is able to play next week. I mean, it's a shoulder injury, so you never really know. But I would like to think he would be ready to play next week. But even still, with the way the Bills have been playing this year, I don't hold out hope if you're a 49ers fan that you can go into Buffalo, beat them on Sunday Night Football. I just don't think it's realistic. But the 49ers today, if you were to nail 3 reasons why they lost: bad play calling at times, turnovers, and penalties. The amount of penalties today, also broken tackles. Penalties were a big concern. They had many pre-snap penalties today. They had a couple holding penalties. They had a couple big penalties on the kickoff return. I mean, Deebo Samuel had that big return that was brought back because of a hold. And then there's another return that they got up to like the 40 or the 50, and that got brought back as well. Had that pass interference penalty in the end zone on Romeo Doubs when it wasn't really necessary. I mean, he just mugged him. And then Dobbs went out with an injury. It wasn't on the 49ers for the reason why he got injured. He fell down, smacked his head, and it's just one of those things that happen in the NFL. But certainly, the 49ers just need to be better. I mean, penalty-wise, it's been a problem for them this year. I mean, left and right, top to bottom, everybody's committing penalties everywhere, and it's just not getting any better. And then the blocked or missed tackles. I think they had like 20 missed tackles today, which is like a record, or was certainly the most in the NFL this year. I mean, they couldn't do anything. Josh Jacobs was just juking people out of their cleats, going left, going right. He couldn't be stopped. No, they did kind of stop him a little bit during the second quarter, a little bit during the third when the play calling for the Packers started to get a little vanilla, a little foreseeable. But for the most part, the Packers had their way with the 49ers today. And yes, maybe Nick Bosa being out there helps them a little bit. But let's be honest. When it comes to the 49ers, even if Nick Bosa is out there, I mean, you're still missing Dre Greenlaw. You're still missing Charvarius Ward. I mean, you're missing big pieces in your defense. And yes, Nick Bosa is a big piece, one of the best pass rushers in the league, and he truly is one of the best defensive players in the league. But this year, they haven't been that great even with him on the field. So, I know 49ers just have to face the facts that they're just not as good as they were last year. They're just not a good team overall right now due to all the injuries. But can they get better? Would they probably be a better team if they had all their players back? Sure, of course. But injuries are part of the NFL. And when you win the game, you don't apologize. And the Packers should not apologize at all for the victory today. They won. They beat them down, as they should. The Packers were clearly the better team from start to finish today, even though it got a little hairy there in the second and third quarter. I mean, George Kittle just dominated the Packers at times. I mean, George Kittle is one of those players on the field that everybody knows he's the best player on the best players in the field. You stop him. You have to stop him, and they just couldn't do it. But the biggest game changer today was that interception by Xavier McKinney. I mean, look at where the 49ers were. I believe they were down by 10 points. They were driving, looking to score another touchdown, and then Xavier McKinney gets the interception, runs it all the way back, and that's another thing for the Packers today. They got multiple points off of turnovers. I think 14 in total. They nearly caused another fumble at the end of the game, but that Xavier McKinney interception really changed the game around and really allowed the Packers to push down their advantage and push the foot cleat on the collective throats of the 49ers. Kyle Shanahan is still a good coach, but sometimes his play calling just leaves them open to bad games and just, inconsistent play calling. I mean, it's just one of those things. I mean, he is a master at times, but at other times he just doesn't adapt well at times, and as a result, the 49ers lose. The 49ers just haven't been a great team this year, and sure, they can still make the playoffs, but for them to make the playoffs right now, they would have to probably rattle off 4 or 5 wins, or at least win 4 out of the next 5 to really stand a really good chance to make the playoffs. But like I said, they have a tough schedule coming up. They still got, like I said, they play Buffalo next week in Buffalo. They play against Miami. They play against the Bears. They still have another game against the Cardinals, I believe. Not an easy schedule by any means, and the way the 49ers are playing, I don't see them improving. Even with Brock Purdy out there, who knows how long his injury will keep him out. I would definitely expect him to be out next week or out there on the field next week, but who knows? Shoulder injury is one of those things that are hard for quarterbacks. I mean, throwing shoulder, it's hard to come back from. I believe his injury is throwing shoulder, but the Packers get the win. Packers were great. Their defense was fantastic for the most part. There were only a few moments where, watching the game, I just thought, man, this is not good. Things are not going their way, but regardless, they pulled through. Had 3 turnovers. Packers didn't turn the ball over once, and that's a huge thing. Their play calling, for the most part, was good, although at times it kind of stagnated, and as a result, the 49ers were nearly able to make a really good comeback. But again, Packers win. Packers still lead the series against the 49ers. This was the largest win for the Packers in the series. And as a result, the 49ers are continuing to look for answers. The Packers are 8-3. They're going into Thanksgiving against Miami, who sits at home this time. And it's supposed to be cold. And Miami, well, yes, they've been on a 3-game winning streak. They don't usually play well in the cold. But Packers are going to have to be ready for Thursday night, because after that, they play in Detroit on Thursday night against the Lions, and that is going to be a tough game for sure. But I believe the Packers still will pull through and make a deep run in the playoffs this year, but they got to play like this. If they play like today, chances are they're going to make a deep run in the playoffs. If they don't, and Love starts to go back to throwing turnovers left and right, then it's going to be a different story. But I think the Packers have all the pieces necessary to make a deep run. Just all matters on them bringing it all together, and also Josh Jacobs continuing to play like he has. But let me know what you think down in the comments below. And as always, go back, go, and God bless.